Why, hello there, a Knife Tale here. I hope this video finds you very well today, and I appreciate you tuning in to check it out. Today, I'm bringing you a summary of a knife I've done a full review on. The full review will be linked down in the description. This is the Kansept Caveman, and this is a solid knife. It is a bit more robust. It is a bit slightly more geared towards a heavier kind of use knife. It is a thick, reasonably thick. Well, it's actually not that thick. Thick, reasonably thick, not that thick, yeah. It feels thicker than it is. It feels bigger than it is. But it is got some height to it, and it feels pretty robust, and the grind and everything, I think, supports that. But it's quite a solid knife, honestly. I've been pleasantly surprised with it. So, just since this is the summary and not the full review, the specs will be in the full review, of course, and everything in more detail. What are we looking at? We're looking at a modified sheepsfoot blade, 20 CV blade steel. Of course, 20 CV is going to probably be a bit lower than the HRC I'd like to see on it, honestly. S90V. For this knife, S30 would probably be even better because, it's a little bit more tough. And this knife kind of calls for that. It is a little bit thick behind the edge, or it gets a little bit thick fast, but it's kind of with the design philosophy. As I said, this is definitely not a lightweight slicer. It is a cutter, but it's sort of poised to be in between, where it can kind of do both or everything decently. You got a little bit more strength up behind there, so it's definitely a little bit heavier used. Good access to the tip, as of course the blade shape allows for. The plunge grind is the one thing that I think needs to be improved on this, but it's confusing. I can't quite tell where the major drop lies. It seems like it drops to about there, and then it doesn't drop all the way down. It still continues to taper. So it's like it's a dual stage plunge grind that kind of comes to the edge, which is not ideal, but fortunately it's a giant sharpening choil or a finger choil, so you can definitely increase the size of that choil just a tiny bit with like a Dremel. It's not hard to do if you happen to start seeing a smile come up. And the stop pins are internal, attached to the blade right there, so you're fine to do that. It's kind of like the one downside. It does have some big chunky jimping up here. Not like the most comfortable jimping, but not also uncomfortable. It would definitely be good in gloves, and you can definitely still push into it. I was kind of concerned about it, but no. It actually is fine. It's just, it takes a little getting used to. Pardon me. The area where the blade goes into the handle is usually where I like to press on it, or you can sort of press into individual jimps and be surprisingly comfortable. Or just go up here. That works too. For the choke up position. It is a titanium frame lock on bearings, and the action is quite solid, honestly. Nice shake shut, but pretty darn smooth. Good lockup. Very solid, chunky feeling, even though, again, the blade stock is not that thick, and the overall knife is not that thick. It just has a presence. Which is appropriate, considering it's called the Caveman, right? And designer logo, I believe, right there. Name, Kansept, you can stop branding everything to the extent that they do, but, whatever. Kansept logo is fine. Designer logo is fine. That's all you really need. And 20 CV. Don't mind seeing that. This particular one has a blue anodization with a stonewash over the top. Semi-rock pattern handles. There are some different variants. There's an inlay variant. There's a rose gold Damascus. Not rose gold, but rose pattern Damascus variant. There's some options out there. I think just the plain one or the black bladed one with this same look, except it's like a slightly more purple. Those two are probably the ones that I like the most in appearance, but there are definitely some options for you. Texturing, no texturing, inlays, whatever. This one does have speed holes, which I'm not a huge fan of, but I do have to say that the way they did these speed holes is kind of nice, with this not only polish, but texturing around it. That's nice. I haven't really seen that done. It's a nice element, and it feels good. It feels like they've gone to the next level with the rock patterning and the way they've done that. The execution is definitely slightly, you're getting more, which is always a nice thing. Titanium backspacer. Big old titanium clip. I was worried about the clip. I talked about this in their full review. The clip actually is very comfortable in the hand. It's quite nice. In fact, this this kind of arch and change in angle here with this hump, I was worried about that too, but your finger really just sort of wraps around it quite nicely, giving you a nice amount of control. Uh, yeah, this is well designed and well thought out. The clip being fat down here is nice because it just feels like one with the handle. And despite it riding kind of close to the spine, it's really comfortable. It's well executed, good flex. It has a little bit of flat on the end, but it does work pretty well, and it sits pretty darn deep in the pocket. Honestly, it's let's see, about there sticking out of your pocket, unless you have super thick pants that you can't get it for that far down in. But you can still probably get it with the way it flexes, probably down to about there. But yeah, this far, it's also pretty easy to get out of the pocket because of this hole here and the thick wide clip. Nice touch, nice way of doing that. I'm happy with the fact that this executed overall pretty nicely. Another thing I'm very happy with is the lock bar access. There is a ton of it. It is, of course, thumb stud action only, but that's perfectly fine. I don't mind that. They are mostly out of the way, just a tiny bit on the edge, not a big deal. Could they have gotten them further back? Maybe they could have put them just a tiny bit higher. Give us a little bit more edge access, like maybe there. But it's not really hurting anything too much, and when you're back here, you're probably going to be cutting this way anyway, so no big deal. But lock bar access is great. Coming from the side, super comfortable. A little bit of softening on the lock bar. I mean, it's still got an edge to it, which is fine, but I do like when they've softened it a little bit just to make things a little more comfortable. Fortunately, this is also a tall knife that you don't really come into contact with it very much. So, nothing to worry about there. Lock bar insert. It is T8 all the way around, which is nice. One thing that isn't as nice, though, is it's not a captured pivot. I did find that out. I did take it apart and clean it out and everything. It is not a captured pivot. It was not hard to do. I, of course, have two little bit drivers. It was quite easy to do, and honestly, putting it back together, once you get it past a certain point, like, you can start it off just with your finger and holding it, and it doesn't really want to free spin, even though it's not captured. It's pretty cooperative, or at least this one is, where I was able to get it to a good point. I put the things in, got it right towards the edge, and then was able to make my end adjustments without having to use one on both sides. So I could just, like, tweak it a little bit without worrying about that. So it isn't captured, but it doesn't really behave poorly. It's conducive to being adjusted, which is always a positive. I like captured pivots, but if you're going to do it well, and they did do it here. So I think that's about everything I really need to say about this. Honestly, it's a good knife. It's $230. This version is $238, $239. For the extra details and stuff that you're getting here, and this sort of taller, robust, thick titanium slabs. Oh, it's contoured, by the way. Nicely contoured. Yeah, I think it's about right where it should be, honestly. I mean, I'm sure I'd love to see it at 220, but it's right around the right ballpark with these extra level of stuff and the very, very nice execution that's been done here. Sure, yeah, Kubi and some of the other ones have really been doing some really crazy stuff at like 150, 160, or even 180 with the 20 CV, but this does feel, for the most part, pretty solid, and there's enough mass and execution detail here that I think it's in its right ballpark. I'm not too upset about that. Oh, that was my fault. I didn't quite get it to deploy. It's not particularly hard to do, but I just slipped off there. So overall, it's a solid knife. It's a good chunky piece, and I quite like it. I don't know if it's going to stick around permanently for me, but yeah. That's it. Kansept Caveman. I'm done, and I'll see you later. Thanks for watching.